Hello, and welcome to The Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that would like to remind you if you are ever attacked by a mob of clowns, go for the juggler. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Arkham Horror, Final Hour from Fantasy Flight Games. In Arkham Horror, Final Hour from Fantasy Flight Games, one of four investigators are going to attempt to make sure that an evil Cthulhu-esque monster does not come to the Earth and wreak havoc at the little town of Arkham, specifically the campus of Arkham University. The game board is a map of Arkham University. It's got places for the monster spaces, it's got clue spaces, and players are going to go ahead and select which monster they're going to fight. They're going to look at the specific setup on that scenario and begin to seed the board with monsters and various other things as well. Now, you have various clue tokens. At the beginning of the game, you're going to select a couple of clue tokens and place those face down on the clue token spot on the board. Now, this is important because this is what you're trying to figure out, is what symbols are on those clue tokens. Now, players are then going to place all the other clue tokens around the board in the various buildings. Now, the players are going to start in one location. You're also going to have kind of the ritual location. And the ritual location is where you're going to want to go ahead and conduct the ritual, but you got to keep the monsters out of that building. Because if ever that building fills up with monsters and you need to add one more, you're screwed. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to select one of their investigators. Now, there are 6 investigators to choose from, and you're going to go ahead and, of course, get that standee, put them in the starting location. You're also going to get your own deck of action cards that have your character on them. Now, players are going to go ahead in the action phase, and they're each going to draw the top card from their action deck. They're going to look at it, and it's going to have 2 halves, a top half and a bottom half. Now, the top half usually deals with hurting monsters, with hurting, attacking monsters. The bottom deck usually deals with investigating locations, but there's usually some negative consequences having to do with monsters on the bottom. So you each grab one of those cards and you place it face down, and then you each have priority cards. Now, these priority cards are numbered from like 1 to 30, I think, and you're going to each go ahead and select one of those cards and place it down on top of the action card. And what you're going to do is, for instance, in a 4-player game, you'll have 4 cards out there. You will each have your priority card, and depending on the people that have the 2 lowest number priority cards, they've got priority. They will go first, and they will do the top parts of their card, starting with the lead investigator. The people who have the 2 highest priority numbers, they will go next, but they will do the bottom parts of their card, again, based on turn order of the lead investigator. So you're going to go ahead, you may want to do the top part, but you may end up doing the bottom part just because you don't have the cards to do the top part, and you've got to work together. You've got to kind of want to try to negotiate it, but you got to be vague. You can't say specifically what cards you've got. So you go around, you resolve these actions. You can attack monsters. If the attacking power you've got on your card is equal to or greater than that of a monster, you can go ahead and take that monster off the board. If you've got an investigate token, then you can go ahead, and usually it's a move and investigate. You can move and investigate a location. You essentially look at the clue token there. Now, a lot of times it's going to be a symbol. If it's a symbol, you place it next to those hidden clue tokens, so through process of elimination, you can tell what those clue tokens are not, and you get a better idea. But also, it's possible you may get an item card, which is a key. You can draw an item card, which will give you special advantages throughout the game. Next, you have the Ancient One phase, and first you do the Reckoning. Essentially, you count up all of the omen symbols on all of the priority cards that were played, and then you check that number against the Reckoning spot on the monster, and that says exactly what's going to happen. Usually it's monsters are going to move, monsters are going to do all sorts of kooky things. Essentially, the monsters have different symbols on them. Some of them have kind of the head, which means they attack any investigator in their space. Some of them have movement, meaning they're going to move along predetermined tracks. They've got the red movement or the blue movement. Some of them are going to destroy locations they're in, and that's bad because if monsters can't inhabit certain locations, they're going to move throughout the board. Next, you have to reveal a gate. You have a stack of gate tokens, you reveal a gate, and you place it on where one of the original starting gates were. You have to spawn that number of monsters for how many gates you have there, and again, that may mean those monsters start moving throughout the board. Finally, you're going to pass the lead investigator token to the next player. So you're going around and around, you are playing the action cards, you're playing the priority cards, you're investigating locations, you are attacking monsters, and at the end of a round, you may choose to conduct a ritual. Now, how you conduct a ritual is essentially, each player can go ahead and grab 3 of their priority cards that they've got. And they can play any 3 of those priority cards. You play those out in front of you, and then after everybody's played them out, you reveal the 2 hidden clue tokens. The 2 hidden tokens, then, will be the symbols that you need that are also found on priority cards. If you have double the number of investigators worth of those symbols on those priority cards, then you win the game. You've completed the ritual and you will win. However, there's many ways you can lose. As I say, if ever the ritual location is overrun with monsters, meaning you have to move a monster in but there's no more space, then you lose the game. You also lose the game if you attempt the ritual and you fail. But, all things being equal, if you can go ahead and you get those symbols and guess correctly, and you've got enough of them, and you complete the ritual, then you win Arkham Horror Final Hour. So Arkham Horror Final Hour is kind of an attempt to create a manageable, a workable Arkham Horror game. And really, this is kind of the question, is this game Arkham Horror in an hour? Is this game in an hour? Well, let me say, first of all, it is in about an hour. It's a pretty quick game. Which is pretty neat. Does it scratch that Arkham Horror itch? And my answer to that is not really. Because to me, when I think of Arkham Horror, I think of the story cards. And I think of the skill checks and the dice rolling and the horror and the terror that come out of those things. And so in that sense, I don't really think this is a streamlined Arkham Horror. And I don't know that it's really saying it's a streamlined Arkham Horror. It's just saying it's an Arkham Horror-esque game, plays in about an hour. My point is, it's not an Arkham Horror killer. Now, I've got my issues with the Arkham Horror 3rd Edition. You can see my review. I've got my issues with that game. But there's still something interesting about it. There's still something interesting in Arkham Horror. And Eldritch Horror, which I think is a superior game. But this Final Hour does not scratch that particular itch. However, for what this game is, a quick hour, less than an hour game, based on the kind of Cthulhu Mythos, it almost has a kind of a pandemic feel to it. For what this game is, I think it's actually pretty fun. Friends and I enjoyed it. So even though it's not the Arkham Horror streamlined Arkham killer that you wanted, it is still a fun game. It's an engaging game. If this game were longer, if this were a 2-hour game, or even maybe a 90-minute game, I don't know that I'd like it as much. I think it would wear out its welcome. But whereas it's as quick as it is, it's still fairly intense. You've got those oh crap moments. You've got that tension that builds, and the potential reward for completing the ritual. I think it's a good game. I think it's a lot of fun. So with those caveats in mind, the recommendation for the discriminating gamer for Arkham Horror Final Hour is go ahead, buy it. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We are The Discriminating Gamer. And speaking of clowns, ladies and gentlemen, I've always wondered, if a clown farts, does it smell funny?
Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band.
What's gonna do? Play another Cthulhu game? Ha! Cthulhu ain't nothing! Dracula!